198,556 shipments of known alcoholic liquor was reported by those common carriers shipped to Kansas residents. Unlawful shipments of cans of alcoholic liquor, they're a known problem. During this past year, we did a limited scope investigation of unsolicited social media advertisements that were shipping alcohol to Kansas residents. There were 22 vendors, and 95% of the spirits vendors sold and shipped to Kansas, which is not authorized. 100% of the beer ones sold and shipped to Kansas, which is not authorized. Wine, 71% sold and shipped, which is authorized if you have a Kansas special order shipping license. However, of those shipments, only 2 orders were clearly marked, requiring the signature of a person aged 21 or older. And one was delivered to an 18-year-old underage cooperating individual. She offered her driver's license to the driver, and the driver opted not to look at it. So a criminal citation was issued to the driver and under review at the DA's office. One box of liquor was not marked, requiring a signature of a 21-year-old person, was handed to a 7-year-old. Others were unmarked deliveries were recovered by minors aged 18, 11, and 7. 50% of the vendors that sold and shipped into Kansas to residents had no federal license with the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Trade Bureau, and none of them had a special order shipping license, which is required to ship wine. Just in summary, it's very easy to order alcoholic liquor online and gives easy access to underage individuals. Not only is that a problem, but it's a high risk for tainted or counterfeit alcoholic liquor, and that poses a health risk. ABC is issuing cease and desist letters to these unlawful shippers. And in addition to all that, there's a significant loss of tax revenues due to the state of Kansas for unpaid liquor enforcement and gallonage tax. So it's a really big problem that needs to be addressed. On to the 2020 legislative changes. House Bill 2016, the part that affected ABC was the online offering to-go drinks, as was codified Governor Kelly's executive order. They have to be able to, what they can sell for on-premise consumption, they could sell as to-go. We did have some issues with that at first. It was mainly size issues. They were selling sizes that weren't authorized, like gallon jugs, and we addressed those, and we really have not had any issues with that provision. So next, I have an ABC organizational chart for you. We do have 4 work units: administration, licensing, enforcement, and legal. We have 41 when we're fully staffed. Right now, we have 1 vacancy in the licensing unit. In 2020, 81.4% of all applications received were submitted to the ABC online. And effective this past January 1st, we have mandated that all applications must be submitted online. This helps tremendously. We have most of our staff working remotely, so managing paper mail and then scanning it out is a huge task. So we have mandated that going forward, so that should help us. I have some graphs for you coming up next on page 4, the total liquor licenses and permits. You can see in 2021 we were down 400. But we were also down 514 temporary permits, and likely related to COVID. You can see the breakdown of licenses and permits. And then cereal malt beverage licenses, as you know, are issued by the local city or county, and those licensees can sell cereal malt beverage and beer not more than 6%. So next I have a comparison chart for you of the off-premise retail liquor stores and off-premise CMB retailers. And then we have the on-premise comparison chart, so you can see the last 4 years, how that's gone. Gallonage tax, I have the rates there for you. And then I have a snapshot of revenue that's been collected by the ABC. As you can see, in fiscal year 2020, collections managed to get up just a pinch. And then the tax revenue, liquor tax revenue collected by the Division of Taxation was down just a little bit. Our enforcement program investigates services, and they provide education and enforce the liquor laws. We have 18 agents, and we're just finally, about 2 weeks ago, we're fully staffed in the enforcement right now. 18 enforcement agents, 2 enforcement supervisors, and a chief enforcement officer, and they are all certified law enforcement officers. So on page 7, I have a chart of our liquor enforcement activities, inspections, new license deliveries, and other investigations. Liquor licensee compliance for underage sales in 2020 was 86%. When we did that second check for recidivism, it was 93%. So the last couple of years, 2019 and 2020 were better than the previous 2 years. So the CMB, this is the first year that we have a full year of data for you with this changes in CMB and beer sales. You can see in the chart on page 8, CMB enforcement activities. We had some on-premise contact, off-premise contacts, some complaints, and then controlled buys. We did 117 of those. And the compliance rate for underage sales for CMB retailers was 94%. Moving on to our legal unit, you can see that we did not issue near as many citations this past year. A lot of that was related to COVID, and anyways, so we have that for you. And then the fines collected was definitely down as well because of COVID. CMB citations, again, this was the first year we issued 40 CMB citations, and we collected just over 16,000 in CMB fines. And then finally, our enforcement does the drug tax enforcement on all illegal drugs that don't have a tax stamp attached to them. They do the assessment, execute the tax warrant, secure any property to help satisfy that debt. The Division of Taxation is responsible for collecting the debt, and they've established a minimum of $1,000 for the tax assessments. And you can see those were definitely up in 2020 compared to the last few years. And then finally, the last thing I really want to talk about is our licensee surveys. We are focused on providing excellent customer service and maintaining a level playing field. We emailed out 4,561 email addresses, got the surveys in 2020. Overall responses were 94% positive. We have a self-imposed goal of 90% overall positive, and we send those surveys out. All new licensees that give us an email address get that survey. Then existing licensees receive a random survey, as well as the enforcement survey is a random selection. And a final note, Kansas ABC was to have hosted the 2020 National Conference of State Liquor Administrators annual conference in Overland Park this past June, and that was obviously postponed due to COVID, and we will be hosting that in 2020. Approximately 400 people attend that and bring their families. And then finally, there are some maps attached behind that has a breakdown of the liquor licensees. The first map is retail liquor stores. That's off-premise retailer licensees, and you can see each county, the number above the county name is the number of licenses in that county. So there's a map for all of our license types, and that is all I have today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Secretary Beavers. Committee, do we have any questions? Seeing none, you did a great job of your presentation. So
I do, Mr. Chair,
Secretary.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chairman, I do.
Senator Fosca-Doe.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Debbie, you mentioned earlier in your presentation that you would hand deliver those licenses to new owners, store owners. But are you still doing that, or are you just doing that by email now? And how are you keeping that connection with them? And then the second part of the question, as opposed to just fining individuals, those repeat offenders, are you offering any kind of training with that?
Yes, I'll be happy to answer that. We are hand delivering licenses in most cases. We're still continuing to do that and give the education. And we do offer education to the licensees at any time. And when a licensee gets a citation for a violation of liquor laws, the enforcement agent giving them generally does give them some education at that time on why they got the citation and how to avoid that. But anyone can always request training. We're happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Secretary Senator Cluse?
Thank you. Just more curiosity in the liquor fines collected. What was the spike in the 2019? You may have mentioned it and I missed it, but I'm just curious on that.
I did not mention that, and I will have to look at some records and I can respond to you on that. I can send an email to the committee.
Okay, and then follow-up question. Do you see a lot of tainted or counterfeit alcohol liquor that poses a health risk that's shipped in? Is that something that's pretty normal?
This is something that's very hard for us to determine because private citizens are receiving this. What I can tell you is that during the investigation, our enforcement agents were in contact with the state where these were shipped from, and a lot of the shippers had no state license in addition to no federal license. Some of them were in just in like storage units and not temperature controlled. So there is a potential for it. We have not really seen it. And you may have seen on the news and in a lot in different foreign countries where there'll be people dying of tainted alcohol and stuff. It's because they don't have a good regulatory system like we do.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Any other questions? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. And we actually don't have anything on the agenda, but I do need to make an announcement for everybody. The hearing for Senate Bill 35 that we delayed on Tuesday, we're going to have that hearing tomorrow. So Senate Bill 35, we will have that hearing tomorrow. Do we have anything else to come before the committee? Seeing nothing, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.